welcome to the studio. Today, I want to talk to you about copying. I've been copying ever since I was a little girl. Sometimes I would copy a work of art that I saw in a book or in a magazine. Sometimes I would go to a museum and make a drawing of a work of art that I saw there. I've often copied drawings and pictures by artists that I admire because I like the way that they make their pictures. I like the style of lines that they use or the colors that they use. And by copying, I can try and get inside their head and figure out what choices they made or how they drew something. So for today, what you're going to need to copy is drawing paper and a pencil and an eraser. And you could also use a light colored pencil in the early stages of your copying. In other videos, I've talked about using a blue pencil, but you can really use a lot of different kinds of colors as long as they're light colors. Some artists like to use a red or a red-orange, and this is a light brown that I'm going to try using today. So the first thing you want to do if you're not sure of what to copy is to find something to copy. And a great place to start is your own bookshelf. You want to look for a book that has pictures that are in black and white. This is one of my favorite cartoonists of all time, Bill Watterson. And this is his Calvin and Hobbes book. And it's all in black and white and gray. If you want to copy something with color, I would recommend that you copy something that has very simple coloring, that is very flat and smooth. So this is a little postcard book by an artist that I admire, and her pictures are mostly done with black line, but then she adds color to them, and it's not too fancy a color. You can see that this creature is blue, and it's light blue and dark blue, but not too super fancy. So I've copied from this book. There are a lot of artists who are offering coloring pages, and a coloring book or a coloring page would be a great thing to copy because they're designed to be made out of lines with simple shapes. So here's a coloring book that I have, and here's a coloring page that I found from an artist online. And then the last thing I want to show you is you can go to websites that offer pictures that are copyright free. And when you're copying, that's something you want to be aware of. The artist who made the picture that you're copying does not want you to claim it as your own idea or even your own work. You should always be honest and say if something you did is a copy of another artist's work. But I found these 4 images on a website that offers pictures for free for people to use in their own work, to use in another website, or if you were writing a story and you wanted a picture for your story. You can use these images with the artist's permission. So I picked out a few that I thought you might like to use, and I put them together for you. All right. Coming back to these copyright-free images, I would like to demonstrate right now how I would do a copy. So I'm going to do this elephant right here. I've started with the eye. I'm making the copy kind of like putting a puzzle together. I'm drawing one line or shape, and then I'm looking to see what is nearby and continuing the drawing from there. And sometimes I will jump back and forth between two areas. The original drawing has very smooth lines, but you can see that I'm doing my lines little by little because that gives me a feeling of control over the direction of my lines. Now I'm just looking to see if I've copied everything but the coloring. Okay, so if you take a look at my copy and the original, you can see that there are some changes. The original elephant has a very flat forehead, but in my copy, I've made it more pointed. You can see that my elephant has a fatter trunk than the original elephant. The back of my elephant is longer than the back of the original elephant. My legs are smaller and the toes are bigger than the original elephant. My tail is thicker than the original elephant's tail. And I think that those are all things that happened because I was working from one part of the picture to the next, to the next, to the next. I wasn't really thinking about how the artist drew the elephant and the overall shape and inside shapes of the elephant. So a better way to copy is to not try to do each line or shape one by one in some kind of order. Instead, it's to look at the whole picture and then try to figure out where the parts are and to see them first as simple shapes. Do you see how my pencil is moving over the illustration? So I'm sort of imagining the head as a simple circle, and now I'm imagining the body as a simple circle. I'm not thinking about the legs or the ears or the trunk yet. I want to get the position and the size of those shapes first. And here's where a colored pencil can come in and be helpful. Maybe I want to draw those shapes first with my colored pencil. Now what I'm going to think about is where those legs are. And instead of drawing them as full shapes, I'm going to draw them as lines, thinking about how long they are, the space between them here in the middle. I'm going to do the same thing with the trunk. Not going to worry about the mouth or the opening of the trunk or this little wrinkle, just thinking about where is the trunk on the head shape. If I've imagined these two shapes connected here, that's about where the ear is, and it's like a triangle. It sticks up above the head and the back, goes over the shoulder, and this is just the tip of the other ear. So I'm going to darken these lines a little bit so I can be sure you're going to see them. But if I was drawing just for myself, I would keep those lines light so only I can see them. So now that I've drawn these simple shapes, I feel a little more confident about making my copy. And again, I'm going to start with the eye because that gives the picture so much expression. And I notice that it's towards the bottom of the head. I'm going to go ahead and color it in with my pencil. Now I think the next important thing to do is the curve of the forehead and the chin. Get those right. So these brown lines are helping me decide where to place these lines. But you can see I'm not drawing all the way around the elephant's head. Next, I could do the ears and the trunk. I think because there's a space here, I want to do the trunk. So here I'm paying attention to the space between these lines, the way that this line curves back very sharply. Now I'm going to go back and draw that little wrinkle. Draw the front of the trunk. Curve. Now the mouth. Okay, I'm going to draw a little bit more. Now I'm going to think about the ear, the way it curves up and over. Then it curves down, down, down. I notice that the bottom of the ear lines up with the mouth. So I make a little mark there. And now I'm going to make that curved line longer. This inside curve. And just to finish the head, I'll do this shape now. So I'm thinking about how far away the back of this ear is from the other ear and where it connects on the forehead. All right, so you can see that this is taking a long time to make my copy, because I'm noticing all of the relationships between the different lines and shapes in the picture. And I'm just going to flip back to this drawing to show you again. I think this drawing is a lot better of a copy. And also, this drawing has taught me something about drawing an animal. Instead of starting with the eye and the head and all of the details, if I was going to draw an animal all by myself, I would do that same technique. I would start with simple shapes to help me think about the proportions, the relationship between the parts of the animal. And when I was happy with those simple shapes, then I would start drawing on top to put in the details. So I got a little puppy here. When you're making a copy, if you're having trouble copying something and it doesn't look quite right, a great copying technique is to copy upside down. So if I was going to copy this cat, I would be drawing so that the head is at the bottom and the body is above that, with the arms and legs. Arms down here, legs up there. Sometimes when we look at something upside down, we see the actual shapes we're trying to create more clearly. So that's a great technique to use when you're copying something upside down. The picture is upside down and your drawing is upside down. And of course, if you're copying something that has color to it, this dinosaur is actually green, and I think if I remember right, the plates are pink. Well, then when you're finished copying, you can try copying the coloring as well, trying to pick colors that you have in your colored pencils or in your crayons that match or are close to the original. I've learned a lot about how to shade things to make them look more realistic by copying. You'll notice in the picture of the elephant, there's shading on the back of the front leg and the front of the back leg and the tummy. And that is because if this elephant was standing outside, this part of its body would be blocking the sun. And in fact, here I can see a lighter area on the elephant's back, and that sort of helps confirm that what I'm thinking, there's supposed to be a sun up here shining down on this elephant. So the inside of his ears are shaded, the underneath of the trunk is shaded, the underneath of the chin is shaded. I've learned a lot about how to shade my own pictures by looking at how other artists have shaded their pictures. So my friends, what I want you to do is go to your bookshelf first and look at all of your picture books and comic books and graphic novels and pick out that book that has the pictures that you like so much. Think about why you like those pictures and what you would like to learn to do in your own drawings, and then start a copy and see where it goes. See what you end up with. Don't be afraid to stop copying and start over, or to make a couple of copies until you figure out how the artist drew the picture. Have fun. I'll see you next time.